I am a police officer. It's the third day of my undercover mission at a club. The bosses asked me to dance. I was wearing a strapless short skirt, with firm eyes and an air of righteousness. I was doing borderline seductive moves. The bosses were stunned. There's a feeling of DAJI being flirtatious but possessed by Lee Kui. It's really fucking exciting. I am Tina. Good evening, bosses. On the third day of my undercover mission at the entertainment club, I finally learned to speak with a wavy tone. After the other 5 girls standing with me introduced themselves, the club owner looked at a man sitting in the middle. Brother Lin. What do you think? That person looked handsome and had a cold expression. I immediately became vigilant. I am a police officer. Shortly after reporting for duty, I was sent to be an undercover agent at Angel. The higher-ups suspected that there were great transactions behind this club and asked me to collect evidence at all costs. My intuition told me that this person surnamed Lin is an important clue. Could he be the mastermind behind the scenes? His gaze swept over us in turn. His slender fingers tapped off the cigarette ash. Let's see you dance. The boss immediately started arranging. Did you hear that? Stand up straight. Start from left to right one by one. I was dumbfounded. If they asked me to perform a set of Shaolin boxing, I could manage somehow. As for dancing, I only did it in kindergarten. But after watching the hot dances of the previous girls, I inexplicably gained confidence. It's just those few actions back and forth. It doesn't seem so difficult to do borderline seductive moves. Finally, it was my turn. Standing in front of the coffee table, I subconsciously saluted. The air was momentarily silent. I immediately shyly raised my orchid fingers and tucked my hair behind my ear. Thinking of the actions I just learned, I tried my best to stick out my buttocks and puff out my chest, making sure every movement was in place. As the music became more and more passionate, I danced more and more vigorously. But I always felt that something was missing. It wasn't until I finished dancing that I realized I had been doing the police school's fighting exercise. What was missing was an uncheka. The air was even quieter than before. After a long while, only the boss's exclamations could be heard. There's a feeling of DAJI being flirtatious but possessed by Lee Kui. This kind of beauty that doesn't care about people's lives is really fucking exciting. Brother Lin. What do you think? The man called Brother Lin took another puff of his cigarette and his gaze fixed on me. It's her. I was taken to a room alone. Ryan was sitting on the sofa and examined me again. He nodded. Not bad. The eyes are clear and stupid. According to what's shown in TV dramas, shouldn't he pounce on me at this time? I still had the distress button in my pocket. Once in danger, I could call for help at any time. Ryan suddenly said, "A million." My hand trembled. At this moment, I almost had the thought of betraying the organization. After harshly condemning myself, I calmed down and decided to wait and see. Is there something you need me to do? Ryan pointed to the bed where there was a set of student school uniform. Put this on. Me. Pervert. Go to hell. Before I could kick with my raised leg, Ryan spoke in time. You need to go to school with me as a student for a month and cooperate with me to find out some things. No matter what the result is after 1 month, the money is yours. I really didn't expect this development. I was stunned for a moment. What are we going to find out? Ryan took a puff of his cigarette and his eyes became fierce. My sister is dead. Ryan is the owner of a bodyguard company. His sister is called Claire. She committed suicide by jumping off a building at Yucheng One middle school last month. The person in charge of this case is my master. I heard him mention in casual conversation that whether it's teachers or students, they all say that Claire is a withdrawn person. Sometimes she has self-harming tendencies. So everyone dares not provoke her. Last month, when the monthly exam results came out, Claire got the second place in the class and failed to get the first place. That night, she jumped off the rooftop. But Ryan is convinced that there is another story behind his sister's death. To know the truth, he has to find it himself. And it's not convenient for him to enter Claire's female circle. So he found me through a friend. Ryan was very efficient. In the second week, he came to pick me up. We transferred to Claire's original class as transfer students. He cut his hair a little shorter, wearing the school uniform. He was a potential school heartthrob, and I was an older repeat student. These are two new transfer students in our class, Ryan and Tina. Please take good care of them. After the class teacher introduced us, he assigned our seats. Ryan was in the last row. A class teacher looked around and finally pointed to an empty seat by the window and said to me, "Use it there." As soon as he finished speaking, the class began to whisper. I walked to my seat and sat down, touching the desk I hadn't seen for a long time. I was very excited. Who understands? After being an undercover agent at the club and then coming to be an undercover agent at school, I really understand Mission Impossible. Until the end of class, the rookie undercover agent with 3 identities was so excited that my hands were shaking. "Are you okay?" My desk mate was a round-faced girl with glasses. Probably seeing that I didn't move for a long time, she kindly asked. I suppressed my excitement and said politely, "I'm fine. I'm just a little nervous on my first day as a transfer student. I am Cherry, the class's study committee member. Teacher Chen said that you live on campus. The dormitory assigned to you is from another class. It happens to be next to my dormitory. I'll take you to recognize the way at lunch break." "Okay. Thank you." I paused and asked naturally, "I'll ask you quietly. Some time ago, I saw in the news that a student in your class jumped off a building. Do you know her?" Cherry was taken aback and averted her gaze awkwardly. "She's in our class. She usually keeps to herself." "Oh. I see." At noon when class was over, Ryan gave me a gesture, indicating that he was going to play ball with those boys. So I followed Cherry to the dormitory. There was too much cat in on the road, so I wore a mask. Along the way, Cherry enthusiastically introduced the dormitory situation, and seemed hesitant to speak. "I don't know what Teacher Chen is thinking by arranging you to stay in the dormitory. What's wrong with dorm 307? There's a female delinquent from the next class who lives in this dormitory. She's very domineering in school. No one dares to mess with her. You have to be careful in their dormitory." I listened and was filled with emotion. Why are high school students starting to form a mini society? My younger sister is also in Yuchangno 1 middle school. Since I graduated and have been busy with work, I haven't really cared about her physical and mental health. With her gentle and weak temperament, she would cry and throw herself into my arms at home when there is a cockroach. What if she offends someone at school? Thinking of this, I sent a WeChat message to my sister. "Have you had a meal? If you don't have enough money to spend, tell your sister. If there is anything else at school, tell your sister in time." My sister quickly replied, "My sister is the best." I just finished eating and went back to the classroom to do exercises. Before I knew it, we had arrived at the dormitory door. Cherry entered the next room. I knocked twice at the door and then pushed it open and went in. A choking smell of smoke hit me. Frowning, I held my luggage. I saw 3 girls sitting inside, all with unfriendly expressions. The one closest to me had dyed blue hair, and looked me up and down. "Who the hell are you?" "I'm a new transfer student." "What class are you in?" "Class 4. Damn it. I hate those girls in class for the most. No wonder I don't like you either. Let me tell you. What are you doing?" I took the cigarette from her mouth and threw it on the ground and stamped it out. Then I opened the window for ventilation. Finally, I adjusted the air conditioner from 20 degrees to 26 degrees and put a coat on the girl in a small camisalo. The girl threw off the coat and was about to slap me. I directly grabbed her collar and dragged her into the bathroom. I took off my mask and sneered, "Doing exercises in the classroom after eating?" Judy's little face turned pale. "Sister." Without saying a word, I started spanking her. Smoking, dyeing hair, swearing, being a delinquent. I slapped her once for each thing I said. Judy dodged while crying loudly. Only the girls outside the door were heard applauding and cheering. Deservedly the boss. Teach this new girl a lesson. Listening to this sound. She was beaten badly. After beating her, I straightened my clothes and said in a low voice, I have a mission in your school. Just treat me as a new transfer student, and don't let the cat out of the bag. Judy's eyes lit up. Damn. Undercover. So cool. When we went out again, I followed behind her with my head bowed pitifully, looking like I had just been punished. But as soon as Judy opened her mouth, I was defeated. You guys quickly help the new roommate bring in her luggage. Get along well with each other in the future and don't do those unnecessary things. After saying that, she eagerly wiped the chair for me and looked at me affectionately. Sister. Oh no. Tina. Sit here. I knew it. Our parents passed away early. Judy was brought up by me. She has been clingy to me since childhood. It's impossible for her to hide it. After Judy found an excuse to send the other two girls out, I asked her, do you know Claire? Judy nodded. Not really. I know of her. She's in class 4 and originally lived next door. Why did you say you hate those girls in class for the most? I looked down on them. Judy said that the dormitory building is not soundproof. There are only 2 dormitories on the left side of the staircase entrance. If there is any movement in one dormitory, the other dormitory can hear it clearly. They make all those annoying noises every night. I've knocked on their door several times and begged them not to make noise anymore while crying. I gave her a long look. Judy shifted her gaze. Well, I warned them with a bench. Later, there was indeed no noise. But that Claire still cried every night. Judy said that she even reported it to the dormitory supervisor. But the aunt told her not to interfere. Obviously, Claire is being bullied at school. When I told Ryan about this, he was leaning in the corner smoking. He was calmer than I expected. Well, I need to know more detailed information. So I took him to the storage room where discarded desks and chairs were piled up after class in the evening. If I'm not mistaken, the empty seat I sat in was your sister's. But that set of desks and chairs is new. Generally, desks and chairs are not replaced unless they are unusable. Maybe we can find something. However, it may also be that the school has to booze and replace the desks and chairs. There may not be any clues at all. We can only rely on luck. The good news is that we are lucky. Claire's desk and chair are placed at the door and are easy to recognize because the entire desktop is filled with a repeated line of words. Claire is a bitch. There are knife marks on the desktop. And there are curses written in various colored pens. The legs of the desk have been violently damaged. And there are still traces of old glue on the chair. Ryan looked at it silently for a long time. After taking pictures of all these, he looked at the paper pasted on the desk leg to maintain the balance of the desktop. He squatted down and pulled out and unfolded the dirty and tattered paper that was folded several times. On it was vaguely written a paragraph. Don't want to be locked in the storage room without lights again. Don't want to drink the water used to wash mops again. Don't want to sleep in the corridor again. Don't want to be forced to take pictures by them again. Why? Why me? I really wish I could sleep through and never wake up again. But my brother would be sad. Right? Word by word. It's shocking. I endured the horror and flipped it over. On the back of the paper were several names, all heavily crossed out by a gel pen, showing how much Claire hated them. The vaguely recognizable names are Elaine, Helen, Zach, Leon. There is another name that is worn out and I can't see it clearly. Elaine and Zhang Hong live in. Who are Zach and Leon? Zach and Leon should both be from the Senior 3 basketball team. Ryan took out another cigarette from his pocket. There was no expression on his face, but his fingers were trembling slightly when he lit the cigarette. I folded that piece of paper and put it in my pocket, looking at Ryan's obscure expression hidden under the smoke. I was about to say something when suddenly there was a conversation coming from outside. Are you sure that arrogant transfer student on the basketball court at noon is in there? There seems to be a girl too. Oh. Playing something exciting? Just catch them in the act. When the door was kicked open, I was holding a math book I didn't know where I picked up and pushed my glasses in front of Ryan. So the proof focuses on Lagrange interpolation basis functions only being related to interpolation nodes. Then I turned to look at the people at the door. Want to join our exciting study? The person at the head casually took a bench leg from the corner and menacingly pointed at Ryan. You're the kid who won 3 balls from us during the day. You're so arrogant. If I don't teach you a lesson today, I won't be called Leon. Wait. What's the name? Leon. When Ryan heard this name, it was as if the anger that had nowhere to vent had found an outlet. I silently took a step back to the corner. If you beat him, you can't beat me. Leon arrogantly hummed. You're quite sensible. No. I was talking to him. Before I finished speaking, Ryan grabbed Leon and pressed his head on the table, using all kinds of professional fighting skills on him. This kind of beating is fierce, but there are no visible injuries on the surface. Before Leon fled in defeat while covering his stomach, he didn't forget to utter harsh words. You just wait for me. After a while, Ryan looked at the table full of Claire's experiences, and his hand hanging on one side trembled slightly. He murmured to himself, I'll wait. I won't let any of these people go. I thought about it all night. I felt that to get to the truth of the matter, I had to move into the next dormitory. In the physical education class the next day, I wanted to discuss it with Ryan, but I underestimated his popularity. When Ryan played basketball, girls from several classes surrounded the court. Not only did I not find a chance to talk, but the news about what happened in the storage room yesterday somehow got out. I was said to have failed in confessing to Ryan and then pestering him. I became the public enemy of girls for a while. Hey, Tina. We don't have enough basketballs in our class. Go borrow from class 4. The girl in front of me was arrogant and pointed at the basketball court on the other side. The girl sitting on the sidelines is their class sports committee member. Borrow from her. I looked in the direction she pointed. There was a girl sitting on the sidelines. Coincidentally, it was Judy. I said oh, and went straight over. Without saying a word, I took to basketballs and left. The few people who were expecting me to be trembling with fear in front of Judy were stunned. In the next second, they showed an excited expression again. When I turned around, I saw Judy following with a straight face. Then, she handed me the basketballs she was holding. Are 2 enough? Here's another one for you. That's enough. Take it away. Sure. Judy turned around and left. The girls thought it was boring and ordered me again. The class is almost over. You'd better take this basket of basketballs to the equipment room. I turned around and shouted at Judy. Don't go yet. Come and help me carry the basketballs. Judy ran over like a husky. Sure. The girls were confused again. Judy and I carried one side of the basketball basket and walked towards the equipment room. Judy was indignant. Sister, if they are too excessive, just tell me and I'll deal with them. I frowned and looked at her. You won't bully others at school, will you? How could I? I'm just a bit hot-tempered and have a stronger stance. People don't offend me. I don't offend people. Those few who follow behind me and call me boss are also because I helped them and they are willing. I breathed a sigh of relief. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw the class teacher coming this way. I had an idea and looked at Judy with great guilt. Judy, sister has a favor. Will you help or not? Sure I will. Good. You will always be sister's sweetheart. Sister loves you. After saying that, I threw down the basketball basket and threw myself at the feet of the class teacher, wailing with tears streaming down my face. Teacher, please help me change dormitories. I can't stay in this dormitory anymore. Woo-woo, Judy always bullies me. Dormitory 306 is all people from our class. That's where I should go. Judy. I successfully changed dormitories, but at the cost of losing a sister. In the dormitory, besides me, there are Elaine and Helen written on the back of the note. And Cherry, the study committee member of class 4. At first, I suspected that the worn-out name was Cherry. After all, they are all in the same dormitory. But in the middle of the night on the first day I moved in, I saw Cherry secretly shrinking on the bed and crying. While Elaine and Helen sat by her bed and comforted her. We know you have a good relationship. But people can't come back to life once they die. Alas. Don't cry. We still have classes tomorrow. This scene of unity and friendship left me completely confused. Elaine is the class beauty in the class. With long hair. She looks gentle and generous. When she looked up and saw that I was awake, she said very embarrassed lie. Did we wake you up? Alas. Some time ago, Cherry's best friend had an accident. She has been in a very bad mood recently. Cherry and Claire are good friends? Good. Things are starting to get interesting. Since I moved in, Cherry suddenly started to make friends with me, waiting for me to go to class and after class, and also holding my arm when having meals and going to the small supermarket. It seemed that in just a few days, I was like her best friend. She told me about herself. She said that after class division in senior 2, she became desk mates with Claire. After that, they were inseparable. No one expected such a thing to happen. After she finished telling her story, she began to ask me if I had any secrets. I didn't say anything. I looked as if I were persuaded. Following her words, I said, "Then if I tell you, you mustn't tell anyone else." Cherry nodded quickly. Of course I won't. We are the best friends. So I leaned close to her and said solemnly, "In fact, Ryan is my half-brother on my father's side. But I like him." On the first day after that, the way people in the class looked at me was a bit strange. On the second day, the words "bitch" were written on my desk with a gel pen. On the third day, it got even worse. More abusive words were written on the desk. Used sanitary napkins were stuffed into the desk drawer. I didn't see that glue had been poured on my chair. When I stood up, I only heard a ripping sound. I realized that I might be experiencing everything that Claire had experienced. The whole class burst into laughter. Cherry guiltily turned her head and didn't look at me. She pushed her coat onto my desk and whispered, "Wrap this around." I gave her a meaningful look and didn't stand on ceremony with her. Wrapped in the coat, I was about to go back to the dormitory to change clothes. As soon as I entered the dormitory, I sensed that the atmosphere was not right. Elaine and Helen were sitting calmly in front of the table painting their nails. There were also 2 or 3 people from other classes in the dormitory. I hadn't seen them before. When they saw me come in, they didn't even look up. I wanted to find clothes. When I opened the closet, I saw a pile of rags. All my clothes were cut to pieces. Not a single good one was left. There was also leftover instant noodle soup poured on the sheets and quilt. It was disgusting to look at. Elaine hummed and said, "How can there be such a shameless person? She even likes her own brother." The people beside her immediately chimed in. "It's disgusting to look at. She must be sick." Ugh. I heard that people with that kind of disease will rot. Wouldn't it be known if we stripped off her clothes and took a look? As someone said this, someone pulled my arm. I shook it off and looked at them coldly. "I suspect that you are also sick. Come on. Take off your clothes, and let me see." What nonsense. Strip her. As soon as Elaine finished speaking, I kicked a girl nearby and pulled Helen, who had been the loudest just now, over and pressed her on the bed covered with instant noodle soup. Helen screamed in anger. I laughed, afraid I haven't had enough, and left me some soup. "You are so kind." I pressed her face on the instant noodle residue and rubbed it wildly. "You eat it yourself." I asked Judy for 2 pieces of clothes and planned to sleep in her room for one night. During self-study at night, Cherry quietly passed me a note. "Tina, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I have the habit of keeping a diary. Who knew that they peeked at my diary that day and found out your secret? I have been blaming myself these 2 days. I didn't expect them to treat you like that. You mustn't go back to the dormitory tonight. I'm afraid they will be even worse." I thought for a while and wrote a note back. "It's okay. You didn't mean it." After self-study at night, I went to the toilet. There was a figure shaking under the gap between the compartments. I sensed something was wrong and immediately reached out to push the door. But the compartment door was firmly blocked. Immediately after, a bucket of dirty water was poured down from above. The stench of mop water hit my face. I clenched my fist tightly and told myself to be calm. Elaine's voice rang out. She is much tougher than Claire. Claire cried long ago last time. Someone also raised doubts. Elaine. Is what we are doing not so good? Claire has already. What are you afraid of? What can happen? My dad donated a teaching building to the school. Can't I have some fun? Judy. Are you sick? There were several consecutive slaps. Judy went crazy outside. Who do you dare to touch? Have you got no shame? There is just a pit. I'll treat you to shit. Only the sound of chaos outside could be heard. Vaguely. Ryan's voice could also be heard. Get out. The messy footsteps grew farther and farther away. The compartment door was opened. Judy and Ryan stood outside. I brushed aside my hair soaked with mop water, and said calmly. Obviously. I was deliberately fishing. Judy was full of admiration. I knew you were the most powerful. Ryan's face didn't look good. What are your plans for the next step? Me. Find a hotel and take a bath. Judy and Ryan went out of school with me. I opened a room near the school. After taking a bath and coming out, I found Judy and Ryan staring at each other. Judy. Are you like my sister? I rushed forward in one step and interrupted. He is my partner. Judy's eyes immediately sparkled. If I guessed correctly, she took Ryan as a policeman. I can't explain it now. I simply started the bluffing method. Our identities are confidential. Don't ask around blindly. Okay. Ryan also pointed at Judy and asked me, is she your sister? Me. Right. I have a sister to support. Then haven't you considered changing jobs? To a stable one. I forced a smile. My job is quite stable. Ryan, but your working environment. I interrupted him seriously. I think I support myself and my sister by my job. I am very proud. Ryan was stunned for a moment. His expression was a bit apologetic. It was me who was narrow-minded. Judy joined in again. My elder sister has always been my role model. My dream is to be colleagues with her. Me. Ryan. Looking at his expression as if he wanted to say something but stopped himself. I quickly changed the topic. As for your sister's matter, I think I have an idea. Elaine is the leader of this bullying. This only shows that she lead to Claire's suicide. It's not suicide. I was stunned. What? Ryan took out his phone and showed me a message record. It was a message sent by Claire to him 2 days before her death. Brother. When will you come back on vacation? Ryan said he would go back on the weekend. Claire also said that she would go to watch a movie with her brother. Ryan held his phone with a sad expression. She said she would wait for me to come back. And she will definitely wait. Even if it's suicide. She will never choose the day before I come back. If it's not suicide. This matter is serious. After returning to school, Cherry was even nicer to me. As if feeling guilty after revealing a secret. She began to take care of me everywhere. Every time Cherry held my arm and went to eat together. I could see Judy's resentful gaze from the corner. The bullying behavior of course continued. If I were 17, I might really have a mental breakdown. Unfortunately, I am not. I am a 25-year-old repeat student who has seen storms. Someone stuffed sanitary napkins in my desk. And I took them out and stuck them on her face. Someone threw a dead cockroach into my food. I dumped the bowl and the food on her head. Someone smeared glue on my chair. I directly moved it to the podium, and exchanged chairs with the teacher. In just 3 days, it became much quieter. The 2 people in the dormitory also didn't make any noise. I don't know what bad idea they are brewing. On this day when I went back, only Cherry was in the dormitory. She said, Elaine and the others haven't come back yet. You go take a shower first. Oh. I responded lazily. After going to the bathroom, I deliberately made the sound of taking off my clothes, and then turned on the shower to make the sound of water. Before long, I saw the window on the bathroom door being quietly pushed open, revealing a mobile phone camera. I stood under the camera as if nothing had happened, looked up and grinned at the lens and made a V sign, and also switched several poses back and forth. The phone was taken back again. A second later, there was a cry from outside. What the hell? I pulled open the door and saw Elaine and Helen standing at the door. I took her phone over and looked through it. What a strange angle. No wonder it scared people. So obsessed with me? You have to secretly take pictures of me when I take a shower? Elaine snatched the phone and looked at me with a sneer. You won't be complacent for long. Oh, don't sneer. There's a piece of vegetable on your tooth. After Elaine left in a rage, Cherry came out carefully from outside. Tina, I wanted to remind you, but they drove me out. I smiled understandingly. It's okay. It's not your fault. How could I blame you? Soon it was Friday night. I made an appointment with Ryan to meet on the rooftop where Claire jumped off the building. He spent this week investigating Leon and that Zach who hasn't shown up yet. But he couldn't find any connection between them and Claire. Suddenly, the mobile phone rang. It was a call from Cherry. After I answered it, there was a noisy sound from the other end. Cherry cried and called my name. Tina, are you at school? I encountered something outside. Can you come and pick me up? I glanced at Ryan. What's the matter? I was singing with my friends and accidentally soiled someone's clothes. Now he is pulling me and making me pay for it and won't let me go. Woo woo woo. My friends have all left. I am the only one here. I am so scared. Can you come and find me? You are the only friend I trust. Like this. I responded casually. Send me the address. After hanging up the phone, Ryan frowned and looked at me. Are you going? Although I have already determined that the worn-out name on that piece of paper is Cherry. She is one of the accomplices. But I must go to this place. Do you guess whether your sister was tricked to go outside the school like this and got in touch with people like Zach and Leon? Ryan's fists suddenly tightened. He gave me a deep look. You didn't have to do this. Oops. I forgot my persona. I cleared my throat. After all, you said you would give me 1 million. It's enough for my sister to finish her studies. I am very grateful. After a while, Ryan said in a deep voice, I'll go with you and wait for you outside. At the door of the box, I pushed open the door pretending to be nervous. I saw quite a few people sitting inside. Those I know are Elaine, Helen, Cherry. There are also 2 boys. I have met Leon once. The one sitting in the middle, with his legs crossed, and a mocking expression on his face. Should be Zach. Seeing that I really came, Cherry sat in the corner, and didn't dare to look at me guiltily. I stood at the door in fear. Cherry, didn't you say you were the only one? Cherry didn't dare to make a sound. Helen came up to me and sneered. Yo. Now that you see so many of us. Are you scared? Weren't you very arrogant at school? She grabbed my hair and dragged me to the coffee table. I screamed cooperatively. What are you going to do? Zach leaned over and sized me up. Not bad looking. Not as ugly as you all said. TSK. Compared to that Claire. She's a bit lacking. What do you mean? Did you all do this to Claire too? What? You know her too? Then you should know that there's no good end for provoking us. Suddenly, Zach grabbed my neck and poured wine into my mouth with a wine glass. Caught off guard, I coughed violently after being first fed. My clothes were all stained with wine. Zach looked at me with malicious amusement, casually fiddling with the camera in his hand, then nodded at Leon. It's up to you later. I huddled in the corner, trembling. What are you going to do? Of course. Take a beautiful video of you. Saying that, Leon took off his coat and walked towards me with malicious intent. Don't worry. I'm experienced. I can't eat you. I looked extremely frightened. Claire was bullied by you all before. Elaine sneered. Who told her to be arrogant and overestimate herself? She deserved it. Only by stripping her naked and stepping on her into the mud will she know her own worth. You should count yourself lucky. We were much more violent to Claire than to you. At that time. From their description, I seemed to see that desperate and helpless girls struggling desperately in the mire but being smashed down again and again. I was so angry that my whole body was shaking. Just at this moment, Leon reached out his lecherous hand towards me. Listen carefully and be obedient. Then you can suffer less. Die. What? I said. When he got close, I firmly clamped his neck with my arm and kicked his knee. Die. I didn't hold back at all. Leon flew 2 meters away due to inertia, covering his leg and wailing. Zach Kirsten was about to hit me. I nimbly retreated and did a downward chop. Never had I been so glad that I didn't slack off in class. After dealing with Zach, I grabbed Elaine by the hair and dragged her off the sofa. I slapped her twice. Helen was so scared that she wanted to run but was tripped by me. She lay on the ground crying and shouting, "Mom! Help!" Cherry was stunned. She sheepishly moved next to me and even reached out and pinched my clothes and said, "They forced me to call you. Tina." I slapped her backhandedly. Looking at Cherry's aggrieved expression, I felt nauseous. You are even more disgusting than them. If they are just maggots, then you are the leftover food accidentally eaten. Just thinking of you makes me sick. Cherry was still covering her face in fear. Hearing me say this, I don't know what triggered her. She suddenly stood up and roared. Why do you say that about me? I was also forced. If I didn't do this, they would do this to me. It's not my fault that you are in this situation. I looked at her coldly. Did you do this to Claire back then? First, you became good friends with her. After learning her secret, you added fuel to the fire and leaked it out, making her be hated by everyone and left helpless. Finally, you tricked her out and completely pushed her into hell. Cherry's face turned deathly pale. I didn't want to look at her even for a second. People like you will never have friends, and will never be loved. You deserve to hide in the darkest place in the world and never see the light. The door was suddenly kicked open. Ryan at the door was suppressing his fury and slowly rolling up his sleeves. I didn't say anything and silently closed the door, blocking the camera with a wine bottle. When I left the private room, I saw Ryan leaning in the shadows by the door, the cigarette in his hand flickering. I handed him a recording pen. It's all recorded. Ryan looked at me with an ambiguous expression. After a while, he nodded. I believe you. Intending to ease the atmosphere, I quipped. How much do you believe me? Ryan said faintly. I believe you as much as I believe the police. I was stunned. He already knew? But I can be sure that except for my exposed skills just now, nothing else was revealed. It's your sister. Every time she sees me, she salutes. What else can I say? Just speechless. Ryan fell into memory. My sister. She is also very lovely. She is so sensible that she never makes me worry. But why? Why didn't she tell me earlier? He looked at me sideways. Is it okay for you to beat people like this? I shrugged. I'm still undercover as an angel. The one who beat people is little Tina. And it's self-defense. What does it have to do with me? Tina? Please take care of the rest. I called my master. There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. Only after a long time did I hear a low curse. Let's go. Arrest them. The police quickly came and took Zach, Elaine and the others away. In the police car, I explained the specific situation to my master and handed over the recording pen. Master looked stunned for a long time with a complicated expression and said, Tina. Master almost made a big mistake this time. The case of Claire was reopened for investigation. Unfortunately, the rooftop surveillance camera was broken on the day of the incident. Even though Zach and others admitted in the recording that they tricked Claire onto the rooftop, there is still a lack of crucial evidence. The case was at a stalemate. Just as the detention time limit was about to be exceeded, Suddenly someone came to the police station and said they had taken evidence. I saw that boy in the conference room. He was fresh and handsome. He handed over a photo which clearly captured the scene of Zach and others pushing Claire to the edge of the rooftop that day. Judging from the angle, it was inadvertently taken in the teaching building opposite the rooftop. He said, I was debugging my new camera that day and took two photos facing the window. I only found these were taken when I was cleaning up yesterday. I suppressed my excitement and said, Thank you. This is very important to us. Before leaving, the boy stopped me. He said, Will those people be brought to justice and justice be done for classmate Claire? Do you know her? A trace of pain appeared on the boy's face. After a long while, he said, She once handed me a love letter. It was in a pink envelope and every word was written with great care. She is a very gentle person. Not long after she confessed to me, I went to a competition in another province. A few days after I came back, she had an accident. I can't figure out why such a good girl would encounter these things. Yes. Who can figure it out? Why did Claire encounter these things? Perhaps it's because she is good-looking. Perhaps it's because she once handed a love letter to the boy she had a crush on a romantic sunset. Or perhaps it's because she told her secret heart's thoughts as a secret to the person she thought was a good friend. It is undeniable that none of these actions hurt others. But someone turned these into swords and sentenced her to death. There is unprovoked evil in this world. And what makes these natural villains act with impunity is the indifference and onlooking of people around. In a tragedy, no one has ever told the murderer, You are doing bad things. I don't agree. This is the source that turns a farce into a tragedy. The day before the trial, the parents of Zach, Elaine and others found Ryan and knelt in a row begging for his forgiveness. One by one, they were in tears. It's our children who are sorry for you. Please be magnanimous and let them go this time. There will definitely be no next time. They are still children. Ryan looked at them coldly. Isn't a young devil still a devil? What on earth do you want? Money? We'll give you money. They are so young. Just as old as your sister. Once they go in, their lives will be ruined. What about my sister? Ryan smiled and approached step by step. My sister is the same age as them. But now she is in the dark underground. Do you want compensation? Fine. Go down and accompany her. For a moment, there was silence. Ryan sneered, I will never forgive. On the day of the trial, I saw Ryan sitting in the first row with no waves in his eyes. Zach and Leon were sentenced to 10 years. Elaine and Helen were also sentenced to 5 years as accomplices. As for Cherry, since there was no direct bullying behavior, and she was not at the crime scene, she was acquitted. On the day she left, I stood at the door and looked at her expressionlessly. I want her to remember this gaze. For the rest of her life. She will never escape the nightmare of being pointed at by others. Once this case was reported, it caused a sensation. Schools one after another launched anti-school violence publicity campaigns. I was invited to go back to Uchengno, one middle school, to popularize laws. In the huge playground, those people from class 4 were all stunned when they saw me in police uniform. Damn, she's a police officer. Undercover in our school? So cool. Across so many people, I could still hear Judy's loud voice. She's my sister. My own sister. Isn't she amazing? And those who had bullied me before now lowered their heads and dared not look up. I think this experience is the best education for them. The angel was investigated and found to have no illegal activities. Suddenly, after ending my double undercover work, I felt empty and lonely. So I set my sights on Judy, took her to dye her blue hair back, and started checking her exercise books. Judy wailed in pain every day. As for Ryan, after the case ended, he disappeared. I often think of him. Because the promised 1 million hasn't been given to me. Woo woo woo. In the days that followed, I lived a very boring life. Every day, I mediated disputes between uncles and aunts and helped people find lost bicycles. This kind of boring but peaceful life To be honest, it's not bad. This evening, on my way back from work, I was carrying my bag and thinking about what to eat at night. Someone quietly approached me from behind. When passing by me, it seemed that they accidentally bumped into my shoulder. I felt something was wrong. When I touched my pocket, my phone was gone. Damn. Even a policeman's things dared to be stolen. I took off running after him. In the narrow alley, I chased after the thief. Just as we were about to reach the end of the alley and merge into the crowd, someone suddenly rushed out from the side and tackled the thief. I took over, pressed him to the ground and took out handcuffs in one go. Thanks. I brushed my hair aside and looked up. Stunned. It was Ryan. After several months' absence, he should have walked out of the shadow. His hair was a little longer, but it was neatly groomed. It's you. What a coincidence. Ryan, it's not a coincidence. I came back just to find you. Ryan was accompanied by a friend. Seeing our situation, he gossiped. Brother Lin. Do you know each other? I spoke first. He owes me money. A large sum of money.